stomp or be stomped feels like what Overwatch matchmaking is right now. I don't know if they've been playing around with like knobs or switches the past couple of weeks, or maybe it's the shifting player base going and playing other games and coming back. Or maybe it's genuinely the fact that the matchmaker has been really frustrating, is that it really does feel like you either go into your competitive games and you either like stomp your opponent, and that's not even fun, or you're on the receiving end, right? Like your entire team is like 1-8, 1-14, and the enemy team is like 25-1. It's discouraging to want to log in and grind ranked out when it feels like my games are trying to be forced towards like a 50% win rate. And to me, it felt a lot like Destiny's matchmaking and to a degree still kind of feels that way. But there is a period of time where Destiny would matchmake you based off of your skill level, but instead of teaming you up against teams of equal skill, what they would do is they'd put all of the bad players on your team, so you had to carry harder to try and force your win rate down. So the matchmaker was intentionally trying to balance out your win rate versus matching you against teams of like equal skill. So I'm feeling a little bit of that to a degree. I climbed. I mean, I'm primarily a support player, and if I play tank, I'm playing like 90% Orisa. But I climbed from my placements of like Gold 5 up to Masters 5. And then within this past week, again, end of season matches are always kind of a shit show anyway. But I dropped from Masters 5 to Diamond like 4, which was just unbelievably frustrating because it felt like I was losing way more games, but they weren't like close loses. They were like absolutely blown out of the water losses where like I wasn't the only one necessarily underperforming. Like, I don't know how to even phrase that, because a lot of times it just felt like it boiled down to, oh, the enemy has Sojourn, Widow, Hog, and we're running not that, you know, so it's an instant loss. That's what it feels like. And I know a lot of content creators have been talking about the fact that we're in like a counter pick meta, or a counter tank pick meta, where if you go one tank, then the enemy goes a different tank to counter that, and then it's just forever rock, paper, scissors. Unless you have a tank player that does not swap, in which case you might lose just because of that if they can't flex, which I also can't grief people over, because for the most part, I feel like there's like one or two characters people are really passionate about playing, and they're really not as passionate about playing the rest of the roster, right? Like, they can play those characters, but not everyone is excited to have to swap 5 times to 5 different characters in a match. There's a brief period of time in Overwatch 1 before Roll Q where I played flex just because I didn't want to lose. But now that we have Roll Q, that's substantially less of a problem. And now that we're also down a tank, it means that you don't need like the super mega healing comps that you needed in Overwatch 1 just to sustain 2 tanks. Where I feel less bad about playing like Lucio Zen in Overwatch 2 when we only have 1 tank to keep alive. So I don't know. I don't know how they fix this necessarily. Well, I do know how they fix this. That's the kicker. I think the best way they can kind of balance out the matchmaking, for starters, is just make sure that you have at least one person in each role. And if we had to only choose one, it'd have to be tank to like match up exactly. So, you know, in Overwatch 1, we used to see the average SR of the lobbies, because, you know, you had players that are a little higher than others, and they would try and balance off of, you know, lobby SR. But I think one of the things we run into with Overwatch 2 is you could have, you know, lobbies that are the same, or teams that are the same SR totals, but they're split really differently, right? Like, the enemy team could have a diamond tank or a masters tank, but your tank is only like plat, and your, you know, diamond or master players are on support, so it's not an equal it's not equal. So I think that's where they can start. If the match, I would be shocked if the matchmaker is doing that, because it doesn't feel like it is. But I think that's a good place to start, is having like your tank, make sure they're like very close in SR, and then at least 1 DPS and 1 support that are also matching on there. I don't think you can get everyone to be exactly matching once you hit like what, Diamond, because the player base really splits once you get past Diamond. So I don't know. There's the experience the past couple of weeks has been really interesting because I feel like initial games, we just kind of assumed it was like the growing pains of the soft reset. But now we're a ways in and the pain is still here and I don't entirely know what's going on with it. It's Ramacho's about to release tomorrow and the way he looks pretty underwhelming. And I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to want to log in and play Overwatch tomorrow. And I feel like Destiny's in the same boat where I was going to log in tomorrow and probably play the Destiny stuff first, just knowing that the Overwatch queue times and servers are going to be a little nuts. But Destiny's in the same boat where I feel like both games are really struggling where they're at currently. So they've got to fix so much. Like, it's not just like one piece of Overwatch is on fire and they can just put it out. It's like the whole thing is on fire and parts are smoldering and other parts are resparking. Feels like the trick candles that people get for birthdays, it just keeps relighting. And they just need to take things out instead of trying to like find other useless solutions for things. So I don't know. I'm loving these conversational videos. I'm interested to hear your opinion on things. If you like more videos like this and you want to have more of a discussion, you can either join me over at Twitch at twitch.tv/valcore_, or leave a comment here and we can keep the conversation going. But until then, I'll see you guys later.